Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie, and I'm again joined by Dan. This time, we're previewing the match where Carabao Cup holders Newcastle United travel to the Etihad Stadium as they seek to overturn a 2-goal first leg deficit against Manchester City in an intriguing League Cup second leg on Wednesday night. How are you, Dan, mate?
I'm all right, thank you, Chips.
We will start with a form then, but before we get going, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell here at Dugout Daily for all things Manchester City. We will start with the form then, and since that first leg win, Guardiola and co have suffered a dip in form with 2 wins, a draw, and 2 defeats, and most recently played out a frustrating 2-2 Premier League draw with Tottenham in North London on Sunday. Make sure to check out our review for the match, which came out on Tuesday night. This was the first time Manchester City had led by 2+ goals at half-time in a game and failed to win since April 2018 in a 3-2 defeat by the Reds. It's not great reading that, is it, going into this game?
It's not, and I think I'm going to be honest. When we went up to their place and won 2-0, should have been 3-0. I thought that was game over. I thought that we'd be fine. But our recent form since that game again is shown that this is far from over, and our current form. Really, you could expect anything, especially in the second half. If they can keep it tight or nick a goal in that second half, I think that will collapse.
Yeah, it's a real possibility. In the Premier League, City have scored 6 first-half goals without reply in 2026, but we have conceded 6 in the second half without scoring. Our collapse against Spurs highlighted how second-half performances are becoming a growing concern for Guardiola, who has seen his side slip 6 points behind leaders and title rivals Arsenal with 14 games to play. Again, it doesn't make good reading, does it?
No, it really doesn't. Again, we're just so inconsistent. Well, I suppose we are a bit being consistent there, but being consistently poor at different stages of the game. I think on Wednesday, especially in the lead up to that game at Anfield, we're really going to have to show that we've got a bit about us mentally as well. That we are going to come out and show in the second half that we can come out and win these games. I think what we should be doing here realistically is looking to end the game early, get a quick goal or two, which I don't have much confidence in us doing, but you never know. I think that's what we should do by in the first 20. If we can get ourselves 2-0 up, the tie should be done.
Yeah, definitely. Moving to Newcastle's form then, it's been a mixed bag with a solid Champions League win against PSV and a deserved point in Paris provided some positives. However, domestically, it's been poor with 2 defeats in their last 3 Premier League games, including a 4-1 hammering at Anfield. The heavy League Cup loss to City early in the first leg, has left them facing elimination in the semi-final second leg. Newcastle haven't been great recently, have they?
No, and I mean, I watched the game against Liverpool and I thought they were just so poor. I think Liverpool genuinely could have probably gone and scored another 5 or 6 goals. Again, you just can't rule them out, I think, especially considering that this is a competition that they're obviously holders of. They're not going to give up on it that easily. And, I think potentially that poor performance at Anfield may be, that they had another eye on this game, because I think this game, especially at the minute, is far from over. And I think we are quite lucky that it's at home.
Yeah, very. And said with that, Newcastle have only won 1 trophy in 70 years. So, of course, like London buses, they very rarely come, and then 2 could come in the space of 2 seasons. City have been dominant in our run so far in this competition, as we've conceded just once across the 4 games and have won convincingly at every stage. We take a commanding 2-goal lead in the first took a commanding 2-goal lead in the first leg at St James's Park to put us in pole position to reach the final for the first time since 2021. That's a bit of a surprise, seeing as though it seemed to be every year or two City will be in the Carabao Cup final, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice to be back into the final. I think, and again, another shot at silverware would be massive for the club, and it'd be nice to finally get back on these Wembley trips that have actually been relatively scarce over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, definitely. As previously mentioned, Newcastle are the current holders of the Carabao Cup, and they began their defence with victories over Bradford, Tottenham and Fulham. But their 10-game winning run in this competition, which dates back to the start of last season, came to an end with a home defeat against Manchester City in the first leg. This has been their bread and butter at times, Newcastle, hasn't it, the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, especially after winning it, they'll have the confidence. And as you said, that's their first trophy in 70 years. So I think, this is their season as well. I think they've been really poor domestically, and I think this is going to be their season, and they will look at this game as their cup final in a way, which a 2-goal lead, I think, they'll see it as a very doable, especially against a very fragile Manchester City at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. We will move to the head-to-head then, and an almighty challenge awaits for Newcastle, who have lost 17 of their last 18 visits to Manchester City and have only celebrated one win at the Etihad over the last 22 years, even though that came in this competition in the Carabao Cup 4th round in October 2014. I remember Rolando Aarons running the show on that day. God knows what he's doing nowadays. Sticking on that subject, heading into Wednesday's second leg, the Magpies can at least take some confidence, having progressed in the previous 2 Carabao Cup ties against Manchester City in 2014 and 2023, while they also won 2-1 in the Premier League in November. They will now attempt to beat the Citizens twice in the same season for the first time since the 1983-84 season. What are your thoughts on some of them facts, Dan?
Well, I think they're fairly positive for us, I suppose. I actually still remember that game in the cup that we lost to them. But that's, as you said, the only one in 22 years. So the readings are very good for us, and I think, especially if we can somehow get the crowd up, we should be able to get a result. But again, it might not be easy. I'm not too sure what Newcastle's away allocation is yet, but especially if they can get a few more in, that could be an interesting part to play. And I don't think that they'll see this as impossible. Yeah,
definitely. We will move to a few more facts about this game then. Of course, the winners of this All-Premier League tie will play another Premier League side. Of course, from London, it will either be Arsenal or Chelsea. Arsenal won the first leg 3-2. That second leg is tonight while we're recording this. If you're watching this, you'll know who's gone through. The final is on March the 22nd at Wembley. City are in the driving seat to reach our 23rd domestic cup final at Wembley under Guardiola after securing a commanding 2-0 first leg win 3 weeks ago. The Citizens have failed to reach the Carabao Cup final just once in the previous 6 instances of winning a semi-final first leg, as we lost to Manchester United in 2010. And we're now eyeing up our first Carabao Cup since 2021, as Liverpool are the only team to have won more than City's 8. The Scousers have won 10. Manchester City will welcome Wednesday's return to the Etihad, where we've won 14 of our 18 games in all competitions this season, with 2 draws and 2 defeats, while we've also won each of the last 11 home encounters with Newcastle by an aggregate score of 37-3, including a 4-0 win in February 2025. Conceding a second goal in the 98th minute was a body blow for the Magpies, but not fatal in the eyes of head coach Eddie Howe, who has insisted that his team are still in there fighting. Only one side has ever overturned a 2+ goal first leg deficit to reach the Carabao Cup final after Aston Villa knocked out Tranmere in 1994, where they lost 3-1 away before winning 3-1 at home and winning on penalties. What are your thoughts on some of them facts, Dan?
I think they're positive rating for us. I think, again, Newcastle have got an uphill task here, but I think they'll be up for it, and I think it'll be a very good game. I think City are going to need to start quickly, and they're going to need to start waking up in games, because I think that's one of the main criticisms at the minute, is that the squad aren't alert. We see them so much in the second half come out and just try and take things slowly. They're going to have to be on their A game from minute one if they're going to get a nice and easy result. Otherwise, Newcastle will come at them. Newcastle will score. They will be up for it. They will be winning. They will be up for winning every 50-50.
Yeah.
And it will be tough if we let them do it. But it's our ground. We should be able to dictate 100%. Play. We should be able to do what we need to do and get to Wembley.
Definitely. And the final fact we'll talk about before going to the team news: Newcastle's overall away form this season has left a lot to be desired, as they've only won in 3 of their 16 matches on the road in all competitions, with 5 draws and 8 defeats, and most recently losing 4-1 at Anfield in the Premier League. They're 10th in the Premier League at the minute and 6 points off the top 5. This isn't the Newcastle of the previous few seasons, is it?
No, it's not. And they've really struggled. But then again, you've got to look at it like, they lost the star striker in the summer, very late on as well. And again, they're going to have to rebuild, and it's going to take them time. But it really isn't the team that we expected them to be. Or have been. I think that will definitely benefit City at the minute, because if we were coming up against Newcastle in previous seasons, then we'd be a lot more worried than we are now.
Yeah, but, definitely.
I think that could also lead on to another worry, that their season in the Premier League is basically over. So the Carabao Cup is pretty much all they have to play for, and with them being in the semi-final, they're not going to let that slip away from them easily.
No, I don't think. Definitely not. Next up, then, we will move to the team news and predicted lineups for both sides. So moving to Manchester City's absentees for this game, starting with Ruben Diaz with his hamstring injuries, back in training this week after an injury towards the start of 2026. But he's not expected to feature against Newcastle. His possible return is targeted for this weekend at Anfield. Jeremy Doku is out with a calf injury after being forced off in the recent Champions League win over Galatasaray. He's sidelined for a couple of weeks. Possible return against Salford. Josko Vardiol fractured his tibia in the same game Ruben Diaz got injured. He's out long term after surgery, and he's in danger of missing the rest of the season. John Stones is out with a thigh injury, to no one's surprise. He's been sidelined since early December with no clear return, again to no one's surprise. Mateo Kovacic is out with an Achilles injury. He's been limited to just 2 sub-appearances this season post-Achilles surgery. He's expected to be out for a while, potentially until towards the end of the season. Savinho has missed the last 9 games, as Guardiola indicated in early January, a potential 1.5 to 2 month absence. His possible return is around the same time as Doku. Ryan Cherki suffered a knock at the weekend against Tottenham. Guardiola confirmed a final assessment will take place today, but he is a doubt for this match. And Mark Guehi is ineligible for the semi-final and potentially the final if City get through, as he wasn't registered in time for the first leg. I'm not really sure why he isn't available for the final if we get there, but he isn't. Next up then, we will go to the predicted lineups from both myself and Dan for Manchester City. So here is my predicted team for the Newcastle match. Trafford in goal, Nunes, Kuchinov, Ake, Aït-Nouri with Rodri in midfield, Silva out wide, Reinders, O'Reilly, Semenyo with Haaland up front. Pep Guardiola is expected to name a strong lineup, even though we're 2-0 up, with James Trafford, of course, in goal, our cup goalkeeper. The back four on Sunday was Nunes, Kuchinov, Guehi and Aït-Nouri. The only change I expect is Guehi, who is ineligible. And I think Ake will come in. I think Guardiola will stick with O'Reilly in midfield as well as Rodri. And I think Reinders will be in for Shirky, who has his knock. Bernardo Silva to be shifted out wide, in my opinion. Of course, the captain. Semenyo was on the score sheet at the weekend. I expect him to keep his place out wide left. And I think Erling Haaland will keep his spot up top. Next up then, we will move to Dan's predicted lineup. So here is Dan's predicted team for the match against Newcastle. He's gone for Trafford in goal, a back four of Nunes, Elaine, Ake and Aït-Nouri with Rodri in midfield, Foden on the right, Semenyo on the left with Silva and Reinders behind Marmoush in attack. What's your thinking behind this team, Dan?
Well, I'm thinking that team, I think, especially with an eye on Sunday's game at Liverpool, I think personally it rotates a few, it gives a few minutes, but it's also strong enough, I think, to withhold a 2-0 lead that we've got and potentially add a few more. It also is a big game for players such as Foden, I think, who has a lot to show for. I think Marmoush was rested on Sunday. He didn't play, and he hasn't had many minutes really this season, so I think he's due a 90 minutes. Apart from that, I think it's all relatively similar to the league game. I think Aït-Nouri obviously being given some more minutes. I think Elaine would be good to bring back in because he performed really well at Newcastle and also give some much needed rest to players like Kusanov, who we're going to have to start managing minutes. Same with O'Reilly, that's why he's not playing, because you're going to have to manage these players' minutes, otherwise it'll become too much. And we've seen how that can affect certain players in this team over the past few seasons.
Definitely. Next up then, we will look at Newcastle's predicted lineup according to Sportsmole and the players they have out for this game. So the absentees for Newcastle in this match then, starting with their talisman, Bruno Guimaraes, is looking like he's going to be out with an ankle injury. How confirmed he's doing well, but might not feature, with a possible return targeted for their game at the weekend against Brentford. Lewis Miley is unlikely to feature as well, as Howe said he's not sure he'll be available. They join Joe Linton, Tino Livramento, Fabian Schär and Emil Krafth, who are all out at the minute as well. Joe Linton with a groin injury, Tino Livramento with a hamstring injury, Fabian Schär with an ankle injury, and Emil Krafth with a knee injury. A returnee for Newcastle looks like it could be Sven Botman, who's had a thigh injury recently, and that provides a boost to the back line after recent concerns. Next up then, we will look at their predicted lineup. Where are their strong points and where could City target? Newcastle could be without 7 players previously mentioned for Wednesday night's semi-final second leg at the Etihad Stadium. With Newcastle trailing 2-0, Eddie Howe is expected to name his strongest possible lineup, which could mean a back four of Kieran Trippier, Malik Chow, Dan Burn and Lewis Hall in front of goalkeeper Nick Pope. If Guimaraes and Miley aren't fit, Sandro Tonali could be joined in midfield by Jacob Ramsey and Joe Willock, as Joe Willock has lost more games against City than any other opponent in his career with 8. Hull decided to begin without a recognised striker against Liverpool, with Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes and Anthony Elanga all starting up in attack, but he may opt to recall either Nick Waltemada or Johan Visser. Should either of them play, Elanga would presumably be the one to make way, but either Barnes or Gordon could also drop down to the bench if Hull decides to give Jacob Murphy a start on the right. What's your thoughts on that predicted 11, Dan?
I think that we should be able to beat that 11. I think there's several points in that team. I think the left-hand side of that team, by Lewis Hall, I'd rate Lewis Hall very highly, but I think you've got Harvey Barnes, who is always bound to score against us, but he isn't top level, and Joe Willock, who they're a team that aren't exactly, they're not at full strength or anywhere near full strength. I don't think. I think everybody knows the past Newcastle teams to be a very strong physical midfield, and I don't really see that in this Newcastle team. I also think Kieran Trippier and even Nick Pope. I don't think Nick Pope is very good at all. So there's the weak points in that team. I think you still got to be careful of players like, or that counter-attacking factor of Barnes, Weiser and Gordon. They do offer quite a bit of pace against our normally quite slow defence. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, Dan Burns recently returned from his injury. He was actually in the Sky Sports studio for the first leg. Like you said previously, that midfield three of Willock, Tonali and Ramsey looks weak to me. Willock and Ramsey are definitely more attacking minded than defensively, which Newcastle might need, seeing as though they're 2-0 down. I don't think Tonali's an out-and-out 6 either, to be honest. But I think, like you said, I think that team is definitely beatable. Speaking of thinking if it's beatable or not, final part of this video will be our score prediction for the match. So moving to our score prediction then, Newcastle have no other choice but to take the game to City in their quest to pull off a surprise comeback to avoiding an early setback could be crucial, having previously conceded the opening goal inside the first 20 minutes in 7 of their last 8 visits to the Etihad before going on to lose each time. The Magpies do have the attackers at their disposal to trouble City's leaky defence and exploit our high line, but the Citizens possess enough quality of our own in the final third to outscore our opponent and should secure an aggregate victory to reach the final. So I reckon it will be 2-1 to City and 4-1 on aggregate. What do you reckon, Dan?
I'm going to go with 3-1 City.
3-1 City would mean
I think Newcastle's
5-1
aggregate. I think Newcastle's, they're going to go very attacking minded, and I think that normally suits City, and that should open their defence up, and they'll be playing a higher line, and I think that will expose them, and I think that City should be able to go on and score a few, especially an early goal. The early goal is crucial. Yeah,
definitely, and as mentioned there, Newcastle have conceded in the first 20 minutes in 7 of their last 8 visits to the Etihad. There's a few stats that have come up in this video that are good reading for City, aren't they?
Definitely. And City should theoretically be using them now, and that should give the squad a bit of confidence. But I just think this Newcastle team, this is their cup. This is their, they're the holders. Their season's already over, so they've got nothing else to play for. So they will definitely be up for it. They won't give us an easy game. They'll fight for everything. It'll be tough, but I think City should get the job done. But we're City. We never do things the easy way. So
definitely that. And that is it for this video. We will be back for a review in the next couple of days before we look at our visit to Anfield at the weekend. Not looking forward to that one. Before we end it, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell here at Dugout Daily. and we will see you guys in the next one. Come on, City. Cheers, guys.